Welcome! This is Professor Crow here to show you how to get started with RStudio in Posit Cloud. So once you've made an account and logged in, it will look something like this. And so you'll see that you're in your workspace and we have no content yet. So we're going to start by making a new project and we're going to make an RStudio project. So it's going to take a few minutes to deploy the project, so we just have to be a little bit patient the first time we do this. And once we have made the project, it'll take a moment to pop up, but we will see something like this, where we have a bunch of window panes that we're going to go through and talk about in a few minutes. Before we do that, I want to show us how to get a file into RStudio so that we can work with it. So I'm going to come back to Canvas over here. This is an old Canvas class that I have, and in worksheet 3, this is where we did our intro to RStudio, and notice that this is what we call a .qmd file. That's short for a Quarto file. So I download that, and you don't want to open that on your computer because if you don't have RStudio loaded on your computer, it won't know what it is. It won't be able to identify that file. So instead, we download it, we leave it alone for a minute, and then when we come into RStudio, we come down to what we call the file pane down here. So this bottom right window pane. Right here we have 3 window panes. We're going to have 4 once we get going. The bottom right one is where we look at our file management. So I want to upload. We can see where the upload button is. So I click on that. And then I'm going to choose a file. So I'm going to go into my downloads folder and I see this file that I just downloaded. And if I open that and click OK, it pops up over here. If you need to upload any data files, like an Excel file or anything like that to work with it, you would do that here as well. Once we have the files we need in here, if I click on the file, you see we get the window that we had up top is now shrunk down bottom, and this new file has opened. So we're going to need some packages, and I'm going to click install. Whenever you see that yellow line up top asking you to install something, we are going to click install. Since we're in the cloud space, it's really just installing it within the cloud space. And this is going to take a while the first few times we do it, but once we have our packages in there, as long as you're working within the same workspace each time, then it doesn't need to install those same packages again. Now, this window up here that I'm kind of circling around with my cursor is where we're going to do most of our work. So I want to make that a little bit bigger. So I'm going to go in between these two, and I want to be able to see that something's going on with that bottom one. I see that something's happening, but I don't need to actually read everything right now. So I'd make that bottom window small enough that I can keep an eye on it without having to read and see what's happening. And again, this is going to take a couple of minutes, but it's really just the first time we do this. And then sometimes we'll need new packages installed depending on what files we're working with, in which case we might have to add new packages as they come. But once we get going in this course, we are not typically going to have to add new packages. We'll just build on the ones that we already have. So I want to walk you through a bit of information we have with this file. The top is where the information about the file comes in. So it's going to have a title, the author. So very often we're going to have ones in class where you're going to change the author to your name. And here it's set to just make it the system's date when we use this to make a new file. So we can see down bottom, it is stopped doing its thing. So that's good. It has installed those packages. And what's going to happen here is it says format HTML. Those are web pages, HTML files. And so this is going to create a new web page with a whole bunch of information. And the way we do that is we use this render button that has an arrow next to it. So if we click the render button, it is going to take some more time processing everything that's in the file. And once it's done that, we might have a pop-up blocker show. So I'm going to click try again because I want to allow pop-ups from this web page. So you may or may not have that depending on how your computer's set up. But what happens is this file we just rendered creates a new file. And so the first file was full of code. This second file, which is this web page that it made, has output from the code and some words of explanation. So we can see that that page made a graph, and as we scroll down, it has some words about that graph. And so you're going to see as you work through this class what these different pieces of the files do. But that's the main thing that you need to get started, is how to upload a file and then how to render it to create that HTML file. When you are done, so the other videos will walk you through how to do more with these files. But you can see now that we've rendered it, under this file window pane, we have this new file, which is worksheet 3 intro RStudio.html. So it's the same name, except now it's a .html. And so that is the same thing as this file here, but we can't save this version of the file. We have to work with this one. So if you then want to, say, submit the file with your answers in it onto Canvas, you would need to work with this file. So to get this file out of the web environment and onto your computer so that you can upload it into Canvas, you're going to check this box next to the file you want to download. So in this case, it's that .html one. And we don't see download in one of these menu items immediately. So we have to go to more, and we're going to see export here as an option. So we come down and we're going to click on export, and that's going to select the file where we can change the name if we want. You can change where it's downloaded. I'm just going to leave it in my download folder. And so now that file is in my download folder. So if I want to upload it into Canvas, I can. So that's about all we need to get started. We can see how to upload a file, how to render that file, and then how to take that new file that we created and download it. It's now in my downloads folder, and now I would be able to upload that into Canvas.